Yo, what's up guys? It's Robin here, and today, this video, I want to be talking about how you can use this key stat to find out what are the best in slot items for every single champ, depending on what comp you're playing. And this stat is going to be called Delta. You probably heard this term Delta in a lot of people's streams. I'm going to be explaining to you what Delta is and how you can use Delta to find out best in slot items for, basically every champ you want to know. Basically, how to view Delta is, first of all, we go to tactics.tools. If you don't know this website, extremely good website. Gives you a lot of data on like literally everything, items, augments, comps, etc. We're going to go to comp section right here, go to top comps. And then right now, these are the top comps for this current patch. Patch is going to be 13.1b, sorting it by Diamond Plus. Usually I sort it by GM Plus or Master Plus, but there's not enough sample size yet because the patch just came out. So we're going to go with Diamond Plus. So these are the top meta comps for this patch. If you want to know what are the good items for the carries of these comps, you're going to have to use Delta. So we're going to do, let's first take a look at Sure Shot Samira. Let's go into details over here. And then let's go into items tab over on the far right. Now you'll see a lot of numbers. You see a percentage, a decimal, and a decimal. So basically the top percentage is the play rate. So basically people who play this comp, they build this item this amount of times. And the bottom is the average placement if you have this item. And then on the very bottom over here, you see some negative and positive numbers. This is what is called Delta. So what is Delta? Delta is the difference in average placement if you have this item in the comp. So, for instance, if we look at Last Whisper on Samira, it has a delta of negative 0.62. What this means is everyone who plays this comp, if they have a Last Whisper, they average a placement of 0.62 lower. So that means if this comp averages a 4.0, if you have the Last Whisper, you actually average a 3.4 about. So that means the higher the negative number, the better, right? So the higher the positive, the worse the item is. Let's say an item has a positive delta of like 0.4. That means if you build this item, you average placement of higher 0.4 higher. So if this comp averages a 4.0, you actually average a 4.4. So if we take that into account, let's look at Samira. First item, Last Whisper. It has a delta of negative 0.62. So this means that this is a really, really good item. That means if you have Last Whisper on Samira, you average a 0.62 average placement, lower average placement. So we can see here that Last Whisper is really, really good on Samira, probably the core item on Samira. You know, this is a very high delta. We look at GS. GS is a 0.00 delta. So it's like a super mid item on Samira. IE, it actually has a positive delta. So this means IE is actually not that good, a little bit overrated on Samira. Runons, negative 0.38. This means that Runons is very, very good on Samira. And right now, looking at this data, I would want to build Last Whisper and Runons on Samira if I can. Ginsu, positive, really not that good. Hodge is really mid. Deathplate is mid. Guardbreaker is very good with the 2.25 negative delta. BT sucks. And Edge of Night is mid. As you go lower and lower though, the play rate is sorted by play rate. So the play rate goes down. So if an item has a low play rate but a really good delta, take that into consideration because, you know, that might not be enough sample size. So looking from here, I know Samira best in slot is Last Whisper Runons. I will start, if I want to play Samira, I will want to start Bow and build towards Last Whisper Runons. Let's take a look at Laser Corp Zed and Sejuani. If you want to, if you in this comment, okay, I want to play Zed. What items do I want to build? You go to items here, look at the delta for Zed. Edge of Night, negative 0.23 delta with the highest play rate. That means Edge of Night is probably core and you want to aim for this item. Runons also very decent. Last Whisper mid, GS mid, IE sucks, BT mid, Hodge mid. Stuff like that. So if I was going into a Zed game, I would want to build towards Edge of Night and Runons +1, basically. The +1 can basically be anything. But as you can see here, a lot of items are very close to 0.00 delta. So what this tells me is that Zed items actually do not matter too much versus Samira's Last Whisper. So you can actually build anything on Zed and your average placement is probably not going to change too much. On the other hand, if you look at Sejuani's items, if you have a Sunfire Cape on Sejuani, you actually have a delta of negative 0.42. That means Sunfire Cape, Warmogs, Redemption, Gargoyle, whatever, Spark on Sejuani, these tank items on Sejuani is actually very important. But the thing is, like, you have to think of it this way. If you look at this graph and obviously you see the tank items on Sejuani, the delta is lower. The first thought you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to actually aim for Sejuani items and not go for Zed items. But you have to kind of like take into account that most people go into this comp by prioritizing Zed items anyways. So most of the time they're going to get the Zed items. And then with their leftover items, they're making Sejuani items, right? And with the leftover items, if their leftover items just happens to be a Sunfire Cape or a Warmogs or a Spark, it's very, very high roll, right? So obviously it's going to be a better placement if your secondary items are good. right? So you have to take that into consideration. So don't just go for, you know, you see the tank items on as the lower delta, you just go for the tank items on Sejuani, or you look at Mordekaiser and you see that like Rabadon, like stacking Mordekaiser is actually the tech, so you actually want to go for Mordekaiser items first. But in reality, the play rate is so low that these are just like when they have best in slot Zed already, and they have leftover AP items, and they manage to hit a Mord, then obviously their average placement is going to be good, right? So I would look at the delta with the non-carries with a grain of salt, because they are mostly secondary items. But you can definitely use delta for the primary carry items. Next up, you know, if you want to figure out what's best in slot Sett, let's look at the Sett Samira comp. Go to details, go to items. Let's look at Sett. So redemption, highest play rate, negative 0.31 delta, very, very good item. Declaw, high play rate, minus 0.5 delta, very, very good. Gargoyle, mid. Sunfire, good. Bramble, good. Warmonks, bad. So what this tells me is I want to build towards redemption, Declaw, Sunfire Cape, Bramble, you know, Titans, Protector's Vow, stuff like that. It looks like Spark is a positive delta, so Spark is not very good on Sett. And obviously Warmonks is not very good on Sett, because Sett already gets a lot of HP from that. Next up, you know, if you want to find out what's best in slot Viego, you go to items here. Viego, JG with the most play rate, but actually a positive delta. So what this tells us is JG is probably a little bit overrated. Spark, very, very good delta, high play rate, so Spark is very good. Gunblade is also very good, low delta. So what this tells me is for Viego, I want to build towards probably Spark, Gunblade +1. Spark, Gunblade plus maybe a raw AP item. These raw AP items have a really good delta, so there's Guardbreaker. But a lot of times I will just be making the JG because, you know, it has such a high play rate, and even though it has positive delta, the high play rate kind of cancels it out a little bit. And yeah, so that's basically delta. You guys can go down this list and look at the delta yourself. One other area you can look at delta, if your comp is not listed here, another area you can look at delta is under Explorer. So what we're going to do is go to stats, and you go down here for Explorer. You click Explorer. Here you can fill out your any 3 champions that you want. Basically, you can fill out the comp that you want to play, and then find out the delta there. So let's say I'm playing Ashe reroll, right? I just put Ashe here. Ashe 3-star. With Ashe 3-star, you're probably playing Renekton, and then maybe you're playing you know, a Yasuo, right? Probably. So this means that you have like an Ashe 3. You made a comp with Ashe 3, Renekton, and Yasuo. So basically this is probably Ashe reroll, right? So it looks like Ginsu on Ashe is the highest play rate, but it has a positive delta, so it's not that good. Last Whisper has a negative delta, negative 0.2. Very good item on Ashe. GS, mid. Runon's good. Tank items on Renekton is also very important for the negative delta here. Deathblade on Ashe is very good, and stuff like that. So here you can find out best in slot items this way as well. You can also like sort the delta by like lowest to like highest, but I would refrain from doing this because the play rate is going to be so low for this delta that it doesn't really make sense, like this duelist spat Ashe, right? And you can just toy around with this. Whatever comp you're playing, just plug in the 3 units that are in that comp, and then you can look at the items and you can look at the deltas to see what items are good on the champ. That's it for my delta video. I recommend everyone to go to tactics.tools and look at deltas for like every single comp, every single champion, and you will get a better understanding of like what items go good with what champions. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.